the Director of the Services to Abused Families, Incorporated, with the acronym of SAFE. It's a nonprofit agency providing shelter, support, and advocacy to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. In the 5-county area of Culpeper, Orange, Madison, and Rappahannock in Fauquier. To do this work, Cindy brings 22 years of empathetic perspective and dedication to those affected by violence. In 2001, when Cindy and her husband became therapeutic foster parents to 2 sons, survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence, she quickly realized the root element of trauma must be explored for healing, transformations to occur. She joined the Culpeper County Victims and Witness Program as an assistant director for 10 years, supporting victims of all crimes. For 5 years, she was a chairperson of the Culpeper Domestic Violence and Sexual Violence Task Force, and after 4 years on the SAFE board, she became its director. Cindy uses her collaboration skills to consistently find opportunities to grow, encourage, and educate those she supports to see a path to the healing transformation. We also have with us today Erica Jennejahn, is a school social worker at Rappahannock County Public Schools. She serves the grades PK through 12. Ms. Jennejahn earned her master's of social work degrees from Rutgers University and has previously worked within other school divisions, the Department of Social Services, and as a private community-based provider. Throughout her career, Erica has served as a champion for children and families through their advocacy, passions, and actions to ensure everyone has the opportunity to become the best version of themselves. She values teamwork, community integrity, and is thrilled to have returned to the work that makes her heart and soul sing. When she is not working, you can find Erica spending time with her family, fishing, coaching, basketball, gardening, or hanging out with her animals. Welcome to Cindy and Erica. We're looking forward to a very great presentation, and we are anticipating participants that are here today. We're so glad to have you, and that you will put your questions in the chat box. A question: is safe living in your wellness plan? It should be. And what is the full meaning of safe? And we'll hear more about that from our 2 presenters. We want to be free from harm or risk and unhurt to secure from the threat of danger, harm, or loss. Toxic relationships can lower your self-esteem, increase irritability, cause anxiety, contribute to depression, and even foster conditions like post-traumatic stress disorders. So there is that connection, that mental health connection, which mental health is all a part of us. And one of our former directors, Sally Morgan, and you will see this on our website, there is no health without mental health. And to that, I will turn it over now to our 2 wonderful presentators for today. And please make sure you put your comments and questions in the chat box. Thank you, Cindy and Erica.
Thank you so much for having us. It is exciting to see the number of people that do want to engage in the conversation on this topic. I think Erica can speak to the fact that if we don't address it now with our youth, we are not going to get any kind of transformation moving forward, and generationally, we are going to continue to see the same things happening. And our youth are ever changing very quickly. They used to change quick, but they're changing even quicker now. So Erica, do you want to have an opening statement before I start out?
All right, couldn't get unmuted. Yes, thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be a part of this panel and this conversation. It has been educational to return to the school setting and learn of and having conversations about this topic with students, where you would expect it would be normal to be talking to high school students about healthy relationships and boundaries, but I'm having very similar conversations with elementary age kiddos as well, and with their parents, and just all of us trying to understand what kids are hearing, what they're learning, and how can we have an impact and help them learn how to do things better and healthier. So I'm excited to be here and look forward to the conversation.
Wonderful. All right, I am going to work on sharing my screen and hopefully be able to do it in a positive way here. Let me make sure I can get everything I need. And then, well, that didn't give us what we needed, did it?
There you go.
Bear with me. And I think we can get it to presenter view. Okay, can you see that now?
Perfect.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. So we started to partner with the One Love Foundation to take on their curriculum, because while we're an agency that does provide services to domestic violence and sexual violence victims and survivors, we recognize that we were not the persons that should be creating the curriculum. So the One Love Foundation, I'll tell you a little bit more about them, has an amazing platform with a curriculum. We have 4 of our staff members certified on 11 different workshops. So this is one of the workshops that we use in the schools, that we use in the public. And I think you'll find it informative. And then we'll have some dialogue with regards to what we're hearing in the schools and what we're hearing from our youth. So we do have a QR code, and you don't have to, you can do it now if you would for the pre-feedback. This is for One Love Foundation. It's just a couple of questions. You can use the QR code, or you can go to joinonelove.org. If you're not able to do the pre-feedback, that's fine. If we can get the final feedback, that would be helpful. It helps the One Love Foundation continue their curriculum. So it helps us understand what needs to happen. So we have a lot of conversation about that. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit of an icebreaker. I'm going to ask the question, if you're willing to unmute or put in the chat. If not, that's certainly fine. Participation is up to you. But what was cool when you were younger, but isn't cool now? And I will actually start out by saying I had probably every color parachute pant that you could have. So obviously parachute pants are not cool now, but that might tell you how old I am. So anyone else want to share what was cool when you were younger, but is not now? Erica, I know you have,
Someone said leggings with
right.
strip ups, bell bottoms, playing Pac-Man.
That playing Pac-Man, yeah. We only had like what, 3 or 4 video games with the Atari and Pac-Man. Pac-Man had color.
Bobby socks, Atari.
Okay, love it.
Pat Rocks. I hadn't heard that in a long time.
What was that?
Pat Rocks.
Oh yeah.
That was me.
You had a pet rock. I love that. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So if we think about things that have changed and what was cool then and what's not cool now, I realized, I don't know, 20 years ago as a mom that I wasn't cool anymore. And so it's just not even a thing to try to be. So there was that too, right? It was cool to try to be cool as a mom, but not so much. So
Yeah,
thanks for
was just
go ahead.
racking my brain trying to think of what it is that my kids tell me to stop. And I think there's just so many things, it's hard to pick one. I was never going to be that not cool parent like my mom, who tried to use the hip words but didn't know what they meant. So I'm just really thankful for Urban Dictionary and helping me to stay hip on the conversation that kids are having now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for bringing that up. And we'll probably talk about that as we move along as well. So one of the things that I would ask you to think about while we're going through this presentation, and I don't think it's something we think about often enough as adults, let alone in our youth, but what does love mean to you? How do you want to be treated in a friendship or a relationship? What are some things that are okay for friends to say to each other? And what are some things that are not okay for them to say to each other? And we start these conversations with a purpose, because again, I don't think it's something we sit with and think about often enough for ourselves, let alone talk to our youth about. And so when we talk to the youth about relationships, they only think about intimate partner relationships. So we like to make sure that they understand that relationships are your family relationships, your friendships, your teacher to student relationship. If you have a job, it's your coworkers and your boss relationship. So relationships are really important to understand that it's not just intimate partner relationship, which is why in this presentation, you'll see us talk about friendships and relationships, because we want to talk to our youth about making sure that they have healthy friendships as well, and even siblings and parents. So a little bit about the One Love Foundation. The One Love Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was created in 2010 after Yardley Love, a college student at the University of Virginia, was killed by her ex-boyfriend. After she was killed, Yardley's friends and family realized that they had seen some warning signs, but they didn't know how to respond to them. So they believed that Yardley's death was preventable. So they created the One Love Foundation to educate and help others recognize warning signs of unhealthy relationships and empower them to take actions if they see these signs. I think you can think yourself about times where you have thought about a friend or family member that may not be in a healthy relationship, and you wonder, how do you have that conversation with them? How do you have those open-ended discussions so that they don't feel judged and you don't feel like you're stepping into their space? But it's important for us to do that. It's important for us to recognize it and think about how can we address these situations. So again, this is one of the things we talk very much with our youth about. So just a little bit on relationship facts. I don't always put a lot of statistics out there, but I'll put these out there. 1 in 2 trans and non-binary people, over 1 in 3 women, and nearly 1 in 3 men in the United States have experienced some form of intimate partner violence during their lifetime. That is staggering statistics. When you think about when you sit in a room and you look around at the people with you, 1 in 2, 1 in 3, and 1 in 3. Somehow we've got to stop it. And we believe that stopping it is through prevention and through having these conversations and ensuring that adults and youth can have conversations together, that it's healthy to have conversations about these things. So this is a quick overview of 10 signs of healthy relationships and 10 signs of unhealthy relationships. We focus on this in our organization, along with the One Love Foundation. There are some handouts, and I don't know if they will be put in the chat or sent via email, but if we could put them in the chat, that would be great. I think everyone should have access to, and then we'll watch a short video and then maybe go through identifying some of these signs. So that's the reason I won't read each one of them out loud. Please let me know if you cannot hear this video.
One Love teaches the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationship behaviors because everyone can benefit from learning how to love better. 10 signs of an unhealthy relationship. If you're seeing any of these 10 unhealthy signs in your relationship, don't ignore them. Understanding these signs can help identify a toxic relationship before it becomes dangerous or abusive. Intensity. When someone expresses very extreme feelings and over-the-top behavior that feels overwhelming. Possessiveness. When someone is jealous to a point where they try to control who you spend time with and what you do. Manipulation. When someone tries to control your decisions, actions, or emotions. Isolation. When someone keeps you away from family, friends, and other people. Sabotage. When someone purposely ruins your reputation, achievements, or success. Belittling. When someone does and says things to make you feel bad about yourself. Guilting. When someone makes you feel responsible for their actions or makes you feel like it's your job to keep them happy. Volatility. When someone has a really strong, unpredictable reaction that makes you feel scared, confused, or intimidated. Deflecting responsibility. When someone repeatedly makes excuses for their unhealthy behavior. betrayal, when someone is disloyal or acts in an intentionally dishonest way. 10 signs of a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship does not mean a perfect relationship, but we can all strive to love better by practicing these 10 healthy behaviors. Comfortable pace, when the relationship moves at a speed that feels enjoyable and comfortable for each person. Trust, confidence that your partner won't do anything to hurt you or ruin the relationship. Honesty, you can be truthful and candid without fearing how the other person will respond. Independence, having the space to be yourself outside of the relationship. Respect, you value one another's beliefs and opinions and love the other person for who they are. Equality, the relationship feels balanced and everyone puts the same effort into the success of the relationship. You feel like your needs, wishes, and interests are just as important as the other person's. Kindness, you're caring and empathetic to one another and provide comfort and support. Taking responsibility, owning your actions and words. You avoid placing blame and you can admit when you've made a mistake. Healthy conflict, openly and respectfully discussing issues and confronting disagreements non-judgmentally. Fun, you enjoy spending time together and you bring out the best in each other. The best way to learn about love is through One Love. For more information about One Love and the signs of healthy and unhealthy relationships, visit joinonelove.org.
So did any of these behaviors stand out to you? And even asking that question, do you even think that daily you think about any of these words that go with behaviors within your own relationships, whether it's friendships or otherwise? Or are these like maybe foreign words? Are you using these words in conversation about relationships? So I say that and ask that, and hopefully we can get some feedback and dialogue. So feel free to unmute yourself and or raise your hand or in the chat, however you want to do it, because this is important that we have conversation. One of the things we were talking about earlier is oftentimes when we work with women, men, or anyone in support group, and we talk about emotions and an emotional IQ, there's 3 emotions that they talk mostly about. And those emotions are going to be sadness, anger, and happiness. And we all know there's many more emotions than 3, but those are the 3 that get focused on a lot in relationship as a whole. So when we think about unhealthy and healthy relationships, I personally will have to say that I don't know that before doing the One Love Foundation, I used any of these 20 terms on a regular basis to describe any behaviors within the relationships that I had. Just food for thought.
I have a comment. My name's Donna Rogers. What stood out to me, I was trying to think back the first time, I felt like I was in love in high school. And it's interesting because of the immaturity, I felt like a lot of people, and I can't really say me per se, but like that possessiveness one, that's flattering. If you're immature and you're not, your very first relationship, it seems that would come off as a flattering characteristic. Obviously, many years later, that would drive me insane. But as a 16-year-old having a boy tell me, I really don't think you should do this, I think you should do this, I'd be like, oh, wow, he really cares about me. Like I can easily see a lot of these being an example of a first relationship in life.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. The possessiveness is definitely one that comes out in our youth when we have those conversations. And that's exactly what they say. If they're not being that clingy or telling them what to do or having those conversations like that, then they must not love them. They must not want to be around them. And so, yeah, we hear that quite a bit.
Cindy,
any others stand out?
I have some comments. One person said definitely with clients that they hear this, but they also said they can also see some of these in relationships with their sister. Other comments, this can apply to work dynamics as well. Flattery is also manipulation, which young people may not realize. Intensity stands out for me when it comes to the neurodiversity. And I'd have to add there to myself, when we talk about happiness, sadness, and anger, if we don't get beyond those three terms, we can't see the other things that are happening to us. And manipulation is one, and the possessiveness.
Yes, 100%. Also, I will say that most of the time for our youth, even though it's described, the word volatility doesn't resonate initially until we can give some examples of that volatility. So kind of that explosive behavior and not knowing what to expect, and not knowing that, say they came up to their friend and thought it was an exciting moment and they were sharing with them an exciting moment for them, and that friend gets really angry and they didn't expect that response from their friend. That comes out quite a lot as well.
Here's another comment. Belittling stands out as it is a way to start manipulating someone to decrease self-esteem.
Yes. Yes, it's a powerful thing to gain that control. And that's what domestic violence and sexual violence is. It's power and control.
I think that what's interesting to me, Cindy, from the perspective of somebody who's working with youth and having these conversations, is that I don't think I have had a single conversation with a youth who will use any of these words. And quite frankly, if you ask them, give me an example of betrayal might be the only one that they could readily come up with an example, but they will use that in the context of a friendship, not in an intimate partner relationship. But what is scary is what I listen to when they're describing what is not working for them in a given situation. It is all of these things here. So we've got to do a better job of being comfortable talking about these words and situations. These are uncomfortable things to talk about. It is uncomfortable. You still have that mindset with adults that if I don't want to be the one to plant the seed. So if I give them an example of sabotage, then are they going to go and sabotage somebody? Are they going to, and that is not how this works. It's not how we're learning. The kids experience this regardless of who it is that plants the seed, and they don't recognize it. And then because they can't recognize it and define it, they don't know how to get out of it either. And so this list is scary to me.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because recognizing and defining, that's it, right? It's about giving words to behaviors that we don't think about. And so it could be 5 behaviors and they will roll that into one context, one situation, right? And they don't identify each one of those behaviors. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. It definitely was for me to learn this, and which is why I firmly believe in the One Love Foundation work.
Cindy and Erica, a couple other chats. So many of friendships are unhealthy. So not surprised it comes up in friendships in youth. The next one is, I feel like these can be unhealthy signs in relationships with self too.
Yes. Yes, with self. I love that. That's
pretty powerful.
Such a true statement. Yeah, I can honestly say, Darlene, I wrote down, is safe living a part of your wellness plan? And I will be using that because that's really important. And to your point, am I sabotaging myself? Do I betray myself? Do I do any of those things? Yeah, because we can do that. It happens. All right, so what I'm going to do now, there's some examples that we have. The One Love Foundation, again, has taken these examples from conversations with students, conversations with college students, conversations with adults. So they primarily focus on the college student and down, but they have conversations throughout. So we're going to go through some scenarios. I'm happy to read them, but if anybody wants to help me out, please feel free to do so, because I don't like to hear my voice all the time. And then let's just have a little bit of discussion about what we see as far as what the unhealthy signs in these scenarios may be. So put the first one up. Anyone want to help me out reading?
Lily and May have been best friends since middle school. They not only share everything with each other, but also have a 752-day Snapchat streak. One day, Lily forgot her phone at home. When she got to school that day, May pulled her aside and demanded her Snapchat password so she could ensure they keep their streak.
Yeah. So how about unhealthy signs there? What do we think of Lily and May's situation in that? Any red flags?
Possessiveness, which is on there.
Intensity.
Intensity, yeah, it's pretty intense.
And belittling,
Yes,
and trying to make someone feel guilty.
I think guilty is definitely stands out for me. I didn't know there was such a thing as a 752-day streak.
Neither did I. That's why I stumbled a little bit when I was reading it. Like, what is that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, Gail, I think you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just that very point to me just sort of speaks to that isolating, because when you are so intense in one person, it crowds out the other. So even if it's not intentional, the more you get focused in, the less there is for you to share. So that's an awful long time to not be actively or to have minimized engagement with others.
Agreed, agreed. So knowing all of that, if you were a friend or a family member and you saw or knew that that was going on, how could maybe the situation be handled healthier, or could we share with both parties, or at least one of the parties, how that may be able to handled healthier? And I'm going to put Erica on the spot initially because she is working with our youth, and you know, just what would you say to a student that came to you that maybe, or that you saw having this situation?
Yeah, you know, I knew you were going to put me on the spot with this one, because here's where my challenge is. At times, having this I've had this kind of conversation multiple times. One piece of it that's challenging for me as an adult is I don't care about a Snapchat chat. Like, that is not impactful or meaningful to me. I have Snapchat because it's one of those things. Again, I want to make sure I understand what kids are talking about. So I have Snapchat because it does silly filters, but that's about, like, I don't do anything with it. I just want to know what it is so that I can understand what kids are talking about. So the struggle for me as the school social worker is to open up that dialogue with the child to say, why is this important to you? Why is this more meaningful to you right now than doing your homework for 752 days in a row, or brushing your teeth for 752 days in a row, and helping them, you know, the conversation, then digging out, where does this fall in the land of priorities for you? What is healthy? What is, like, literally physically healthy? Why is this so important? If you're seeing each other every day, why is such an emphasis on a street? Quite frankly, these conversations, I try to do a lot less talking and a lot more asking questions. Help me understand why this is important to you. Help me understand, Lily, how it affects you when May is demanding your password, and why do you guys why do you feel like it's okay to ask for that password? You know, what I hear in this is, and I know this will come up again later, the theme for me is boundaries. And kids have no clue where to set boundaries anymore. And so this is where it starts. This is a great boundary prompt. But
Erica, this is Darlene. Why do you think there's such an issue with the youth and recognizing boundaries and how to set them?
I think I mean, I'll speak for me and my kids. I think I did a poor job of using my words to talk about setting boundaries. I think I tried to rely too heavily on showing, because again, it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. And so what we think about is setting boundaries when somebody puts their hands on you, when somebody calls you the B word, that's when we want to use our words to say to a kid, hey, set your boundary. That's not okay. You let them know, I feel upset. I feel disrespected when you know, your I statements. but we don't put words to setting boundaries like this. Like, your time is important to you. How people access you is your decision. We're not having those conversations. And I feel like my generation of folks, so my kids are 25, 22, and 18. And I feel like my generation has done a poor job of having this conversation because we didn't have to deal with cell phones when we were kids. There are scenarios that our kids are facing now that we didn't face. We don't know how to talk about it. You know, it's not a willful decision to not have the conversation. We just don't know how to. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, I'm struggling to articulate my thought there, but we've got to do a better job of having intentional and meaningful conversation.
No, I don't think that's rambling at all. I think that's absolutely perfect. And so to tie both of what you said, so first asking the open-ended question, right? Asking the open-ended question and getting Lily to articulate, and even May, why do you have to have that streak, right? And so asking them the open-ended questions and depending on and how those answers come through, because your boundaries are your own boundaries, right? I can't tell you what boundary is good for you. You have to know what boundary is good for you, but we do have to facilitate the conversation with young people so that they understand that it is more than just touching or someone yelling at you or otherwise. It is your time and your space and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And so, no, I think that you said that perfectly. And it comes up often in our support groups with the adult women that are leaving domestic violence situations, that these conversations never existed. Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy and Erica. I see William has a question. Let me.
Well, not a question, just a statement really quick. I think Erica kind of nailed it a little bit when she started bringing the technology piece in, that there is so many boundaries that are just wiped away with the technology. You can have contact every day, the object is on you. I mean, I remember being a kid, it doesn't seem that long ago, but the phone was the thing. And a lot of times people weren't home, so you couldn't contact them. But now you can contact them anywhere at any given time. So even understanding that boundary is really important.
Absolutely.
Thank you, William. You made me think of my own upbringing. When we finally did get a phone in our home, my mother was very strict about us using it. And if we said we just want to talk to our friends, she said, you were just with them. Go find something else to do. There are a couple chats here. So many of friendships are unhealthy. So not surprised it comes up in friendships and youth. The next one is, I feel like these can be unhealthy signs in relationships, again, with our own self.
Yeah. Did we set boundaries for ourselves?
And not everything needs to be shared with a friend. There are areas that are private and we can protect ourselves when we keep those boundaries.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to go to the next one. So then now that her freshman year of college has started, Alicia wants to break up with her high school sweetheart, DeAndre, to focus on her classes and new friends. When she tries to break up with him, he tells her, I would die without you. I need you in my life. This makes Alicia really nervous to end things. She ultimately decides to stay with him because she feels that his safety is more important than her own happiness. This is a real struggle in the college age, even in high school, but we definitely hear it in the colleges.
And I'm starting to hear it in middle school age.
Oh, that's so scary to me.
It is.
So scary to me.
You could almost put a check mark by each one of the unhealthy signs with this narrative here. There's one comment in the chat box. If I could go back and redo with my kids, I would encourage them to tune into their own feelings and feel empowered to assert their needs with others.
Yes, thank you. 100%. And that is our goal. That is what we're hoping to do is start dialogue with our youth so that they can have these conversations safely and in a healthy situation. But to be very fair, again, these are conversations we're having with women and men who come into support group who have left a domestic violence situation, and these conversations weren't had with them as youth. So this one I think is very scary because we have the words, I would die without you, I need you in my life. and the responsibility that another party has for this, for DeAndre at this point, has increased to a level that this is all verbal and emotional abuse. So if
Which
you knew
is the
that's
hardest,
happening,
which is
go
the
ahead.
hardest to recognize, Cindy.
Mhm.
It's the hardest abuse to recognize.
Yeah, absolutely. So Erica, you said you're hearing it in the younger kids. What kind of conversations do you have? What's healthy to talk with them about with regards to their responsibility for someone else's emotions and feelings?
This is a hard conversation. And I think that, I've only been with Rappahannock since July. And I think that they have done a really good job before my arrival here. And we've really focused on it since I've been here, is making sure that kids know it's okay to talk when they feel concerned about somebody, or if they're concerned about themselves. And so here, I think that friends that hear these comments, or kids that hear this from their boyfriend or girlfriend, for the most part, they're ready to come forward and say, hey, Miss Jennejahn, so-and-so said, I want to break up, and this is what he said, and I don't know what to do. So at least they're bringing it to the attention of adults. It's not as hidden, I think, as maybe it was 5-10 years ago when I was working in another school division. But helping them know what to do after that, and carrying that weight then as the helping adult of how do we help this kid not feel this way? How do we connect them to the right resources? That is an opportunity where it feels like I feel like I have I don't know what's the word, there's more opportunity for me to jump right in and say, hey, parents, this is what your kid is saying. Let's have some dialogue. So it opens up the door in a very different way to provide support to both sides of this relationship. But I am thankful here in Rappahannock that kids are able to come forward and say, hey, I'm worried about this. This is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love to hear that. That's important. All right, here's another one. Erica, since you're up, will you read for me?
Sure. Austin doesn't like the way other guys look at his girlfriend, Blake. So he tells her that if she wants to remain a couple, she can no longer run in short shorts and sports bras. At parties, Austin comments on how much Blake drinks and calls her names anytime she talks to her guy friends. He tells her he's worried that these behaviors will give her a bad reputation.
So what do we think about those red flags? And where might she miss the red flag?
When he says that he's worried about her reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He did a really great job of deflecting that whole other stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I know that it's Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. We're having these conversations. We're talking to youth, but I'm saying again and again and again, these are situations that I'm talking to adults 30, 40 years old that were not had before, that they don't have words to put to these behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
In the comment section here, someone says, I do me and you do you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, I love it. I mean, this is manipulation, possessiveness, isolation at some level. I see that heading in that direction as well.
Yeah. I had this conversation yesterday with a young lady who was saying to me, I told him my mental health is not in a good place. I need to take care of myself. I've been set, and she gave all these examples of where she has set boundaries. She talked about, I want to take a break. And during that break, she kissed another boy, trying to figure out, do I still want to be with my boyfriend? Do I want to date or my ex-boyfriend? Do I want to date somebody new, etc. What she described was healthy, what we would encourage her to do. What she was upset about was him coming back and calling her a whore and all these names and all of these things because she kissed this guy, and never, I could not, in that moment, I could not help her make that connection. Like, you're doing the healthy things. You're doing the appropriate behaviors that we would encourage you to do. He's done this, 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 and this. She had a whole list of examples of his bad behaviors. And she couldn't make the connection in that in that conversation. She was pretty emotional at that time, so I know we'll have to circle back around.
Circle back to it.
But this,
Yeah.
this is constant conversation that I'm having. Again, middle school included.
Wow. Wow. She has a pretty high emotional IQ though, to be able
She
to
does.
articulate what healthy is.
She does, yeah. I would say that aspect of our conversation is probably not typical with the emotional IQ most students have.
Right.
But
right.
she's received, but I also know her, I know, you know, her personal background, and she's had a lot of services and supports in the past. So she's having these conversations with paid professionals and parents who are very engaged and have a great relationship, open relationship.
Awesome. Awesome.
There's
Renee, did you-
another chat, excuse me, Cindy, someone has written, the person who is susceptible to this form of manipulation also needs help.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. I think for me, you know, there are kids who I would say think that this is a way to help someone. So like this has other earmarks of being in an abusive relationship. But there are other kids who are like, you know, she drinks too much, I'm going to call her a drunk, and that should help her. And so also giving those kids ways of expressing their concern, because, you know, I know bullying happens, but also after we did that big education and everything on bullying, that all of a sudden kids were like, well, he's bullying me. And I'm like, he's not really bullying you. You know, bullying is systematic. It's this is this. He was just being a jerk that day. And so, you know, also giving kids the understanding that, look, if you are concerned about somebody, like calling them names or, you know, telling them that you're worried about their reputation, there's a right way of doing it. And there's a way that might be considered like manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about those conversations. Exactly, Renee. Like opening that dialogue with our youth to have those conversations, and adults, because you have to acknowledge as well that these youth are potentially coming out of childhood homes that communicate this way, right? So we have the adults that have to learn it as well. So together we have to work on that. Yeah. So here's another one. Anyone want to help me?
In her
Awesome,
last
Renee.
relationship, Jennifer's partner cheated on her. Recently, Jennifer has started dating again, but constantly finds herself checking her partner's direct messages on Instagram and asks for their Snapchat password. She won't let them have any other friends because she believes it's the only way to establish trust in their relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see this a lot. Again, we see it in our adult relationships. When one thing has happened to us, we hyper focus on that and we can't see that outside of any other relationship.
Someone has commented, anybody who makes you feel shame is unhealthy and you need to stay away from them.
And I love that comment, although I will do this if it's okay. I'm going to challenge, how would you say that to a friend? Is that what you would say to your friend or to the youth? Or how would you maybe engage in that conversation with them? Because it's a very true statement.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Diane. I think I would say, you know, that's not cool. You know, it's just not cool that somebody makes you feel ashamed of who you are.
Yes, I like how you said that. As opposed to attacking the person, attack the behavior that's not okay. Attack the behavior that is harmful to someone. Because when we attack the other party, then that's going to push the person that we're trying to help away from us.
Yeah.
This case right here, this scenario, as you know, we work in the courts, and so we're in the juvenile and domestic relations courts with regards to domestic violence. This particular situation here often ends up in a domestic violence situation where someone is trying to get someone's phone or computer and it breaks, or someone starts swinging or something happens. So this can escalate very quickly to well beyond what one was anticipating when they were literally trying to be possessive or trying to see someone's information or whatever it may be. So even though they haven't even seen the information because they don't get it, it turns into a fight. We see that this a lot in the courts.
Here's a comment. My mother had a conversation with me about dressing not to impress after being molested by my uncle. I recognize that as victim shaming. And at the same time, I was told to dress older after a salesperson in a skirt suit with her hair and makeup told me that I looked too young and to work there, and was sexually harassed.
Well, first and
When I
foremost, I am
dressed up,
sorry.
and as an Asian woman, I am also sexually objectified. Now I dress in baggy men's clothes most of the time, so I have mixed feelings about the previous words, previous examples.
But the previous examples, yeah, I can appreciate that. And I'm going to first and foremost say I'm really sorry for the mixed messages that you were provided. It has nothing to do with what you wear. You should be able to wear what you feel good in and what makes you feel strong, proud, or otherwise. And there should be no one that sits in judgment of that, because what one wears has absolutely no bearing and should have no bearing on what happens to you. It's as simple as that. We have to make sure that the word consent is very clear, and that the responsible party is the party who does that to someone, not at all the person that it happens to. No one invites that.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'll just add that if there's a conversation that anyone would like to have after all of these slides or after this conversation, please reach out. I'm happy to have individual conversations, or we'll provide resources at the end, because it can be triggering. It can bring up things from our childhood or from our youth or from yesterday. And so it's important that we take care of self. That self-care is incredibly important. So the next one we have is Izzy and Charlie, who have been friends and neighbors their whole lives. After enrolling in different high schools, Izzy starts to get upset and yell all the time that Charlie brings home new friends from school and activities that they're doing. One day, Charlie hangs out with his new friend, Kevin. When he gets home, Izzy is waiting at his front door and screams at him for not prioritizing their friendship.
Again, this is a conversation that I have pretty regularly in both schools. We only have 2 schools in Rappahannock, but in both schools. And again, for me, it brings up boundaries and helping kids understand that, like, your whole world does not need to be wrapped up in one person. It is fun and enjoyable and exciting and stressful at times to have as many friends as you can possibly have. But with social media and technology, and we seem to be pushing kids towards this belief and understanding that all of your energy gets poured into only one thing at a time. And so it's interesting. We talk about being able to multitask, which we know our brains really are not very good at multitasking. We're not equipped to multitask. But the more we try to multitask with all these devices and screens and things, the more we're seeing people struggle with communicating and understanding that it's not multitasking to have 5 or 10, 15 different friends. It's healthy and normal and enlightening and exciting. And how do we do that? And how do we encourage that? You know, we see less and less kids engaging in extracurricular activities that have to do with being a team or a member of a band or a choir or a large group. We see kids wanting to sit in their bedrooms, play on video games, where it's just them against the world. And they feel like it is them against the world. It is so isolating.
Yeah. And I think it also doesn't foster one exploring who they are and what they enjoy doing, because when you have one friend and that one friend doesn't want to do other things than what you consistently do with that one friend, you don't get the opportunity to explore different things. And so it's really important, to your point, that we are healthy about that, and that we know we have friends for various things sometimes.
Right. You know, it's interesting as an adult in the school setting, the cliques are not any different now than they were 25, 30 years ago when I was in school. For the adults even, I mean, I remember my first couple days on the job walking into the lunchroom, because we're having all professional development with all the staff, walking in and thinking, I have my tray in my hand, literally like, I don't know where to sit. Where's the table that I'm supposed to sit? Now, I was always that kid growing up that like I was a member of all the groups. I hung out with everybody. I didn't have a clique. But the cliques are real. And so the kids see us model the cliques. And we don't do a very good job of breaking that down for as adults. You know, we have cliques and we do it at work. We do it in our personal lives. And we certainly, those of us working in a school building, we model that too. And it's hard, we have to be mindful and cognizant, and we have to challenge ourselves to do that differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, Erica, I found that to be true at the gym.
Mhm.
In fact, the gym I go to now, I intentionally go there because, to be honest, there are no cliques. There are so many different people of so many different shapes and sizes and ability levels. Not that we do a lot of interacting, but at the same time, you aren't worried about what you're wearing or who you're talking to. And so I think it's a great thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, really valid point. In the interest of time, I'm going to go by a couple of these. Certainly we can send them out because I do like to talk about what pop culture is also doing, right? So pop culture, pay attention to what you're watching, pay attention to what you're getting out of what you're watching, pay attention to what your youth are watching. So we talk about that and we get to learn about all kinds of Netflix shows that I don't know anything about. And Erica could probably speak to like a lot of the shows that the kids are watching, but I've learned that a lot of them are absolutely not healthy, and that pop culture is reinforcing unhealthy behaviors, stalking, and some really not okay things.
Yes, very much so. And I swore I would never be that adult that didn't know the cool stuff. And I have to, you know, I can talk about these things because I make it I take the extra effort to do it, to educate myself. Otherwise, I can't have conversations with these kids. I couldn't have the conversations with my own children. Now they're grown, and now I'm working with other people's children who are young, and we have to invest in learning about this too. I can't just say, oh, that show is stupid, it's meant for teenagers, I don't get it. No, I need to watch it. And some of them are painful to watch, but the adult themes that are in these shows are, it is deep, and that's where the kids are learning. So if you're, as the parent, not informed about what they're talking about, you don't have the opportunity to shift that conversation and say, wait a minute, that's not so healthy. I get that Jim and, you know, Johnny on that show do this, but that's not how it works in real life. That's not okay.
Right. And so to that point, these are questions that, you know, you have to ask when you're having those sit downs and watching TV, like ask questions while you're doing it. Like, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that particular situation? Those sorts of things. Again, it's starting the dialogue. So meeting them where they are, meeting other people where they are, and having the dialogue for what that looks like. And then lastly, I do want to thank you for being here again. In the interest in time, I will put the QR code up for the One Love Foundation. It's important that we are able to get feedback and that we continue to have conversations about healthy and unhealthy relationships. It can't be a conversation today and we not go and talk to at least 2 people about what we talked about here today, because we have to continue those conversations. So I'm going to put that QR code up. If you want to grab it, if not, it's joinonelove.org/feedback. So if you would take a moment to do that sometime this afternoon, that would be very helpful to the organization as well as us. And then lastly, remember that we do have national resources such as loveisrespect.org, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We can send these out afterwards. The National Sexual Assault Hotline, the Trevor Project, which is the leading national organization providing crisis intervention and suicide intervention to services to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning young people. It's a really great project, and it's also a topic that needs to be had. And then, of course, our 800 number is 800-825-8876. And we are at www.safejourneys.org.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Erica. This was excellent. Great discussion. Thank you all for participating. I have also actually linked evaluation in the chat as well for the Mental Health Association. And I will follow up with resources, both the handouts for the unhealthy and healthy relationships and the QR code and Cindy's contact information and other domestic violence resources. So thanks again for everybody. Thank you, Darlene, so much for great facilitation. We appreciate your attention to this matter, and hopefully you can join us for our next Lunch and Learn in April. Thanks.
My
everyone.
pleasure.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.